Clustering is an operation that we do in our mind every day for many reasons. What makes you classify things as being similar to or different than one another? Cluster analysis is a statistical method for classifying things. Cluster analysis classifies things by determining their distance in multidimensional space. In one way or the other, distance metrics define distance as difference. If you wanted to determine how similar or different two people were, you would identify some variables as core dimensions that should matter for classification. And then, in some sense or another, you use a metric that is going to calculate the difference between those two things, be it absolute difference, proportional difference, or something of that nature. The major distance metrics would take the difference between the two people on all relevant dimensions. Defining distance in this way as difference doesn't include covariance, patterns, or shared change. That is, if two people had different mean levels, but the same patterns of relative means, they would appear to be as distant as two people who differed similarly in mean levels, but had the opposite pattern of means, or no clear covariance at all. The distance is the same in all cases. Covariance is simply not included in this particular statistical definition of distance. Statistically, distance is about mean levels, but not about their relative positioning. How do you define distance? What are the semantics of that word for you? Even more, what concepts do you associate with the word distance in your mind? When using any statistical tool to model a psychological process, it is important to reflect on what you mean when you use the words that are also used in the statistical analysis. You want to hold a mirror of your semantic understanding of these words against the technical way they are calculated and defined. If your words map onto the formal definition of words used in statistical analyses, then you can easily interact with the analysis and interpret it well. But in many cases, there will be a divergence from the semantic meaning of a word in a language and the formal way that word is defined in a statistical analysis. In that case, it is important to move into both definitions. To make proper statistical inference, you must have the correct assumptions about the context of your inference. The semantic network of your mind is a context for how you are inferring a statistical result. Note when your interpretation of a result or a set of results is one-to-one with your semantic interpretation. This is not bad, but you should consider that you are giving that interpretation more weight because of the semantic overlap. You can get to the next level if you identify ahead of time what differs between your semantic interpretation of a word and how the word is formally defined in a statistical analysis. That allows you to identify the key points to consider when interpreting the results. For example, when doing cluster analysis, pay attention to whether difference alone identifies your clusters, or covariance too. When you interact with analyses by honestly engaging your subjectivity, then the context of your inference provides an efficient yet divergent guide. Considering these things, the question for you is, do these distance calculations reflect the way that you create groups in your mind? Let's think about this while focusing on your breath, the sounds, the visuals, or a combination of these things. Thank you for joining me for this meditation.